Let's talk to Professor Anthony Glees. He's an expert in security and intelligence and joins us now. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. My question that I've been putting to our audience today, after this Chinese spying row, this man finally named H6, the alleged spy, as Yang Tengbo. The court's basically agreeing to his demand that he be named, even though he was the one who said he didn't want to be named originally. Basically, Prince Andrew's man in Beijing. This man was at the heart of Prince Andrew's business operations, invited to his 60th birthday party. Now, poor old Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, his ex, aren't going to be invited to Sandringham at Christmas. Oh dear, but it's not about who sits where on Christmas Day or is seen with King Charles outside the church on Christmas Day. This is about Chinese spies at the heart of government. So the question is, what should Britain do about the threat from China?
Well, I think the first thing that it needs to do is to ensure that people in influential positions, like the Duke of York, understand exactly what sort of country China is and what it does. I mean,
I think he does understand. It's a very rich country. They've got a lot of people with a lot of money that can help make him rich. That's what he understands.
I think the essential thing that he appears to have missed, and don't let's beat about the bush here, we know what Tengbo got out of the relationship with Prince Andrew. It's the best cover for a spy that you could possibly imagine, to be best mates with the eighth in line to the British throne. It opens doors for you wherever you want to go.
Yeah, you're kind of vouch for. Is there an extent that people would say, well, if he's hanging around and he's involved with Pitch the Palace with something that the King's brother is doing or the then Queen's son is doing, that kind of people go, well, he must have been vetted. He must be okay.
Exactly so. It is unique. Frankly, I can't think of any other British espionage case which has involved somebody getting as close to the source or one of the sources of power in this country as this case.
What does Prince Andrew? Does Prince Andrew have power?
Of course, he has influential power. He's a global celebrity, not always for the right reasons, I should add. But everybody knows him, and you and I are talking about him this morning. And as I say, he remains eighth in line to the throne, and you can sack somebody for doing this and doing that, and somebody can resign for doing this and doing that.
Yeah.
But you can't resign or be sacked for being the brother of the King of England. So this is a really big thing. And we know what Tengbo got out of this. We don't know what Prince Andrew got out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really important question now. But to go back to your point, what should Andrew have known? He should have known that in 2017, the Chinese government passed a law, a national security law, placing a duty on every single Chinese person to act as an intelligence agent for the Chinese state in everything that they did. And there was a double duty on Tengbo because he was a member of the Chinese version of the Communist International, the Comintern, the United Front Department in Beijing. So the moment that this man appeared on the prince's horizon, either Andrew or one of his advisors should have said, hang on, think about the Chinese national security.
But hold on a minute. Where were MI5, MI6? Where were they in this? Why? I always thought this was rather strange, like the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Oh, this man has been already convicted of basically child sex trafficking. Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. You should absolutely go and stay at his house in New York to break off your friendship for 4 days the way you do. The fact that security people weren't going, I don't darn well think so, I find extraordinary. Would they have known this guy? Would they have been watching this guy? Did they want to see what this guy did? Do you think they knew, or did they have no idea? And if they have no idea, why didn't they?
I'm sure that at some stage, 2020, 2021, MI5 realised who Tengbo was and what his game was. Remember, he'd been in the UK for 2 decades, studied at York University. My hunch is that he was a long-term penetration agent. He was pushed into the United Kingdom 2 decades ago in order to be able to say, well, I've lived in Britain for 2 decades, I'm entirely honest. We do need to know at what stage MI5 got really serious about him. We do know that they did get really serious about him, because that's how we've got this evidence from Tengbo's phone when cheekily he tried to re-enter the United Kingdom. And everything that I say to you and said to other people kind enough to ask me about it is based on what has come off his smartphone. Tengbo's own smartphone. And what that reveals is not only that Dominic Hampshire, Prince's senior aide in this horrible, disgraceful, shaming business, was the conduit. But in his letters, he writes to Tengbo, you've achieved a position that many people would, give their right hand to achieve. You're a close friend of the prince and his family. Don't forget that. And he adds, you have guided us so that we can do what you want to do without officials interfering and the wrong people presenting themselves. That is all in the letter. That is, in my opinion, verges on the criminal, I have to say, because what it means is that Tengbo, either an agent or an officer of the Chinese intelligence service, we can't be sure, is directing what Prince Andrew does. Now, I say Prince Andrew should have known. I wouldn't be surprised if MI5 had said, we've got worries about this, but probably received the answer to go and boil their heads. Because it shouldn't be assumed that, the royals particularly like the spooks. Most people in government don't like the spooks. Tell them to keep their nose out of their business. So I don't think we can assume straight away that MI5 didn't know about this. But of course,
and even if they warned, whether they were listened to. But this is the thing, isn't it, in terms of what we then do? Because this isn't just about Prince Andrew. And as you say, that influence he had, people getting to go to the palace, then being able to go to other events, having a picture with David Cameron and Theresa May and another royal prince. I mean, Prince Michael of Kent is always involved in one of these things, isn't he? I mean, the thing is, people aren't... Often we think of this as, a spy sidling up to someone on a bench in the park in Westminster and basically saying, we've got pictures of you with your mistress, you're bought and paid for, now do what you're told, give us secrets. It's not that blatant most of the time. It's much more subtle. Money doesn't change hands in brown envelopes. It's not, again, it's just sort of the tentacles of the Chinese government, the huge economic might of the Chinese government. These things have much more subtle influences, but those influences are very real. What do we do about the threat of this totalitarian, murderous dictator state wanting to basically break the West and impose their values, lack of them, on the rest of the world? I mean, they're already buying up buying up Africa and South America and the Caribbean. They want to buy us up too. How do we stop that threat?
We say no. We say no. We put more money into our security. We put more money into our security service. They're always rather late on the scene, I'm afraid. Now, they would say they react. They're not proactive because we don't want to have a secret police in this country. They'll only to react. I think they have been far too late on the Russia threat, on the China threat, and probably on the Iran threat as well. However, they are now there. We've got to ensure that they've got the resources to deal with these people. But you also have to educate those in power that if they dabble with the Chinese, and you say, Julia, money doesn't change hands in brown envelopes. I'm sure you're right about that. But money does change hands. The three reasons why people betray their country, they betray it for ideological reasons. Well, I don't think there are many people, starting from the prince down, who have an ideological kinship to China. Then people do it for sex. Well, I don't think that's the issue here. And then people do it for money. Well, that may be the issue. We don't know what was in it for Prince Andrew. And that is what we need to be told. That's much more important as to whether or not he has Norfolk turkey for his Christmas dinner.
Absolutely. Professor Anthony Glees, great to talk to you. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us.